What's up? What's up? I told y'all I was gonna go live about 8 or 9 o'clock, and it's a good time to do it. Why? Because the Chicago mayor has responded to Donald Trump sending the National Guard to Chicago to take care of the crime out there. Now we all know Chicago is one of the murder capitals of the United States. Matter of fact, I think we're going to pull up the crime rates. As soon as I get over here and do what I gotta do. Appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm your host, the one and only Stock Sniper, and this is the best chat room on YouTube. And I mean that. It is. Well, I'm not the one that we did a poll on that already. And it's already been clarified and it's been verified that this is the best chat room on YouTube. Now let me see. I'm gonna do before I go there. Let me go here. Crime rate per city. List of United States cities by crime rate. Okay. Alabama. Let me see. Let me go over here. What city? Appreciate y'all for joining me. I am your host. Has the highest crime rate. Memphis. Let's see. Let me go over here. Most dangerous city by the U.S. News. Number 1. Monroe. Let me see. Let me check another one. Let's see. I'm trying to check. Hold on, chat. I'm trying to see. Well, we're gonna go and watch this first. And I just cut in here and there, and we'll look at the murder rate to see what crime is worse in America. We got 37 people in the building. Hit the like button. Get the likes up, people. Appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm your host, the one on the Stock Sniper. Hey, Veronica. Appreciate you for joining me. You just entered the best chat room in America. And in this video, Chicago mayor is reacting to Donald Trump sending the National Guard to Chicago. He does not want Donald Trump to help him with the crime in Chicago. Let's see. Y'all hit the like button. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Let's go.
Plainly about the moment that we are in and the actual crisis, not the manufactured one, that we are facing in this city and as a state and as a country. If it sounds to you like I am alarmist, that is because I am ringing an alarm, one that I hope every person listening will heed, both here in Illinois and across the country. Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump has been planning for quite a while now to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against. And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances. What President Trump is doing is unprecedented and unwarranted. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is un-American. No one from the White House or the executive branch has reached out to me or to the mayor. No one has reached out to our staffs. No effort has been made to coordinate or to ask for our assistance in identifying any actions that might be helpful to us. Local law enforcement has not been contacted. We have made no requests for federal intervention. None. We found out what Donald Trump was planning the same way that all of you did. We read a story in the Washington Post. If this was really about fighting crime and making the streets safe, what possible justification could the White House have for planning such an exceptional action without any conversations or consultations with the governor, the mayor, or the police? Let me answer that question. This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals. This is about the President of the United States and his complicit lackey, Stephen Miller, searching for ways to lay the groundwork to circumvent our democracy, militarize our cities, and end elections. There is no emergency in Chicago that calls for armed military intervention. There is no insurrection. There is no insurrection. Like every major American city in both blue and red states, we deal with crime in Chicago. Indeed, the violent crime rate is worse in red states and red cities. Here in Chicago, our civilian police force and elected leaders work every day to combat crime and to improve public safety. And it's working. Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago, nor can that be said of any major American metro area. But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people is an extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this. Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city. Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students who are at the beach after school. Talk to the workers that I just met taking the water taxi to get here. Find a family who's enjoying today sitting on their front porch and ask if they want their neighborhoods turned into a war zone by a wannabe dictator. Ask if they'd like to pass through a checkpoint with unidentified officers in masks while taking their kids to school. Crime is a reality we all face in this country. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime is dropping in Chicago. Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years.
Hey, what's going on, Anders? Appreciate you for joining me. Who else? It's in the chat. What's up, chat? How y'all doing? Rufus. What's up, Rufus? How you doing? Veronica. What's up? How y'all doing? What's up, chat? Welcome to the best chat room on YouTube. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Let's rock and roll.
4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors. None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans. None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago, and yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there? Ask yourself why. If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety and crime prevention grants nationally, including cutting $158 million in funding to Illinois for violence prevention programs that deploy trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on our streets. Cutting $71 million in law enforcement grants to Illinois, direct money for police departments through programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods, the state and local anti-terrorism training program, and the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. Cutting $137 million in child protection measures in Illinois that protect our kids against abuse and neglect. Trump is defunding the police. To the members of the press who are assembled here today and listening across the country, I am asking for your courage to tell it like it is. This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored in favor of some horse race piece on who will be helped politically by the president's actions. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab. Look at the people assembled before you today, behind me. This is a full cross-section of Chicago's leaders from the business world, the faith community, law enforcement, education, community organizations, and more. We sometimes disagree on how to effectively solve the many challenges that our state and our city face on a daily basis. But today we are standing here united, in public, in front of the cameras, unafraid to tell the president that his proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, "Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city?" Instead, I say, "Mr. President, do not come to Chicago." You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming, you seem to lack any appropriate concern as our...
Hey, what's up, Joanne? How you doing? You just entered the best chat room on YouTube. Hope you're having a great night.
Commander-in-Chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power. As a governor.
Hello, Pasatino. Hello, Birds. Appreciate y'all for joining me. Y'all just entered the best chat room on YouTube. Thank you for joining us.
I've had to make the decision in the past to call up members of the National Guard into active service. And I think it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how seriously I take that responsibility and on the many things that I consider before asking these brave men and women to leave their homes and their communities to serve in any capacity for us. As I've said many times in the past, members of the National Guard are not trained to serve as law enforcement. They are trained for the battlefield, and they're good at it. They're not trained to arrest people and read them their Miranda rights. They did not sign up for the National.
Hey, what's up, Cindy? Shout out to Cindy. Appreciate you for joining the best chat room on YouTube. Glad you decided to stop by and hang out with us. It's well appreciated. Hope you're having a great night. Shout out to Cindy, guys.
National Guard to fight crime. And when we call them into service, we are reaching into local communities and taking people who have jobs and families away from their neighborhoods and the people who rely upon them. It is insulting to their integrity and to the extraordinary sacrifices that they make to serve in the Guard, to use them as a political prop, where they could be put in situations where they will be at odds with their local communities, the ones that they seek to serve.
Hold on, Ted, I'll be right back.
I know Donald Trump doesn't care about the well-being of the members of our military, but I do. And so do all the people standing here. So let me speak to all Illinoisans and to all Chicagoans right now. Hopefully the president will reconsider this dangerous and misguided encroachment upon our state and our city's sovereignty. Hopefully rational voices, if there are any left inside the White House or the Pentagon, will prevail in the coming days. If not, we are going to face an unprecedented and difficult time ahead. But I know you, Chicago, and I know you are up to it. When you protest, do it peacefully. Be sure to continue Chicago's long tradition of nonviolent resistance. Remember that the members of the military and the National Guard who will be asked to walk these streets are, for the most part, here unwillingly. And remember that they can be court-martialed and their lives ruined if they resist deployment. Look to the members of the faith community standing behind me today for guidance on how to mobilize. To my fellow governors across the nation who would consider pulling your National Guards from their duties at home to come into my state against the wishes of its elected representatives and its people, you would be failing your constituents and your country. Cooperation and coordination between our states is vital to the fabric of our nation, and it benefits us all. Any action undercutting that and violating the sacred sovereignty of our state to cater to the ego of a dictator will be responded to. The state of Illinois is ready to stand against this military deployment with every peaceful tool we have. We will see the Trump administration in court. We will use every lever at our disposal to protect the people of Illinois and their rights. Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching and we are taking names. This country has survived darker periods than the one that we're going through right now, and eventually the pendulum will swing back, maybe even next year. Donald Trump has already shown himself to have little regard for the many acolytes that he has encouraged to commit crimes on his behalf. You can delay justice for a time, but history shows you cannot prevent it from finding you eventually. If you hurt my people, nothing will stop me, not time or political circumstance, from making sure that you face justice under our constitutional rule of law. As Dr. King once said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Humbly, I would add, it doesn't bend on its own. History tells us we often have to apply force needed to make sure that the arc gets where it needs to go. This is one of those times. I look forward to taking your questions in a few minutes, but first, I'd like to hand over our podium to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Mayor.
We got 1,000 people in the chat, guys. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Hit the like button, chat. We got 1,000 people in the chat. Thank y'all for joining me. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Thank you, Governor. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to all of the state and local county leaders that are here with us today. So let's just get to the facts. Over the past 2 years, we have seen significant reductions in crime and violence. In the last year alone, we have seen more than a 30% decline in homicides. Let me say that again. We've reduced homicides in 1 year by almost a third. We've launched a robberies task force with the Chicago Police Department, effectively reducing robberies by almost 35%. We've worked closely with CPD to restructure the Detectives Bureau to bring the clearance rate up to 76%. It's the highest we've seen in more than a decade. We've worked with the Chicago Police Department and our Community Violence Intervention, CVI partners, to reduce shootings by almost 40%. Almost 40%. We've done that in 1 year. This is significant progress, and it's historic progress. We've had the safest April in the city of Chicago since 1962, more than 6 decades. And according to FBI data, Chicago is not in the top 25 of the most dangerous cities in the United States. And these facts,
He's right about that, guys. Here go the facts right here. Right there. The most dangerous, highest total crime rate in America. Number 1 is Memphis. Number 2 is Portland. Number 3 is Detroit, Seattle, Baltimore, Denver, Nashville, Houston, San Antonio. Wow. Let's go back. Let's go back and listen to him.
These facts are indisputable and widely acknowledged. Yet there are those who want to twist our words to make it seem as though we think that our job is finished. So let me be perfectly clear. Our work to make our city safer still continues. And while we have made progress, that doesn't mean that we will rest. In fact, we know that we have more work to do. And that work is what wakes me up every single day. It's what I think about before I go to bed. That is our focus every single day, and it will continue to be our top priority until Chicagoans feel safe in their neighborhoods, regardless of their zip codes. We cannot call ourselves a safe city until every Chicagoan in our beloved city feels safe, whether you live in Austin or North Lawndale or South Shore. Every single Chicagoan deserves to feel safe. There are those who might ask, if we have seen consistent historic reductions in crime and violence across our city over the past 2 years, and if we are not even in the top 25 most dangerous cities, then why are we now being targeted by the Trump administration for a military occupation? We are being targeted because of what and who we represent. Chicago was known as a working class city. We are the birthplace of the labor movement, and we will always be a union town. But we're also a diverse city, Black and Latinx, Asian, Indigenous, and whites. We are a city with vibrant neighborhoods that represent every single nationality and every immigrant community from around the world, with more than 40 different language groups that are spoken in homes across Chicago. And we are a progressive city. We believe in investing in people. We believe in standing up for the most vulnerable among us. We believe that the solution to homelessness is not the National Guard, but it is housing. Building affordable housing across American cities should be our top priority. We believe that the solution to immigration is not to separate families and throw grandmothers into the back of vans with marked vans and masked individuals. The solution is comprehensive immigration reform that allows anyone who wishes to come to our city or our country. If they want to work, they should have a pathway to citizenship. We believe that the solution to poverty is not incarceration, it's investment. Instead of declaring war on the poor, we should remember Lyndon B. Johnson's vision for a greater society that declares war on poverty. And we believe that you don't solve crime by sending in the military. You work every day towards constitutional policing and rebuilding trust between law enforcement and residents. You solve crimes and bring closure to victims when we ensure that our detectives division have all of the tools that they need. You solve crimes and you bring closure to victims when we hold people accountable, of course, but we have to do it constitutionally. Due process, after all, is still a right for every single person in this country. That's how we reduce crime. So we are being targeted because of who we are as a city more than anything else. We are a shining example of what happens when working people stand together. The last thing that Chicagoans want is someone from the outside of our city who doesn't know our city try to dictate and tell us what our city needs. As the mayor of this city, I can tell you that Chicagoans are not calling for a military occupation. They are calling for the same thing that we've been calling for some time, and that's investment. What safe cities across America all have in common, they invest in people, and that's what we're doing in Chicago. We need the federal resources to make sure that we're building more affordable housing, expanding mental and behavioral health care, education, all of these things that could reduce crime and provide real community safety. Instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars for a publicity stunt to invoke chaos and terror, the federal government should spend that money on proven solutions to crime and violence reduction. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down. We cannot return to the same failed strategies that got us here in the first place. Under the previous presidential administration, we requested more federal resources to address gun violence in our city. We continue to make that same call. We have made significant progress on our own, but there is so much more that we can do if we had real support from the federal government. Our communities need more federal resources for public safety. There's no question about that. But unsolicited, unwarranted military takeover is not needed. Our message is simple. Listen to what our people are actually calling for. We're calling for investments, resources. This stunt that this president is attempting to execute is not real. It doesn't help drive us towards a more safe, affordable big city. And so, in closing, we have some very simple demands. We are calling on the Trump administration to release the $800 million for violence prevention funds that he stole back in April. We are calling for more resources to stop the endless flow of guns into our city. And we are calling for transformational investments into affordable housing and community safety. I'm proud to stand with all of the partners that are here today, as well as mayors and governors across this country. We will defend our democracy. We will protect our humanity. We will stand up for the interests of working people. And so that's the state, local government, the federal delegation that are all here committed, standing firm in our values, standing up for the greatest freaking city in the world, the city of Chicago. Thank you very much. And with that, please welcome our Attorney General, Mr. Kwame Raoul.
Afternoon. No, I started my tenure as Attorney General halfway through President Trump's first term. And since then, we and other state and local law enforcement partners have done tremendous work fighting crime in partnership with federal law enforcement partners. Throughout my tenure, and now as Attorney General, I've collaborated with federal law enforcement partners, including the FBI, the DEA, ATF, Secret Service, HSI, and others to investigate and prosecute criminal activity in Illinois. And work.
What's up, chat? How y'all doing? Let me know what y'all think about this so far. This is the best chat room on YouTube. We got over 1,800 people in the building. Y'all hit the like button. I am your host, the one and only Stock Sniper. You have just entered the best chat room on YouTube. And we love and we appreciate y'all. What y'all think about what we're hearing right now? Let me know.
Working together, we have successfully investigated and prosecuted gun crimes, drug trafficking, organized retail crime, internet crimes against children, and other crime. We have a great law enforcement leaders in Chicago and throughout in Illinois, including a great Chicago police superintendent, a great state police director, and a great sheriff. We have also had great special agents in charge and agents at large assigned to Chicago from the federal government. Together, we have embraced a one-team collaborative approach to fighting crime. I say this to emphasize that I'm not and have never been opposed to collaborative help from well-trained federal law enforcement agents. Were the president serious about addressing crime or criminal threats in Chicago, he would dedicate more resources to collaborative work that we already engage in with these federal agencies. What the president is instead doing is in no way embracing a serious effort to reduce crime. Deploying American military personnel who are not trained in civilian law enforcement tactics against American citizens does not promote public safety in our cities. Last week, we filed a lawsuit against the Department of Justice for unlawfully placing conditions on Victims of Crime Act grants. If the president and his administration were at all serious about crime, he would not place unlawful conditions on funds that help states support critical services for victims of crime, including sexual assault, child abuse, domestic violence, human trafficking, and other victims of crime. If the president and his administration were concerned about crime, he would not be cutting millions of dollars from proven community violence interruption programs. If the president and his administration were at all serious about addressing crime, the president would be communicating with the governor and Illinois law enforcement leaders. Instead, the president's plan is purely performative. Not only has the president not asked us whether federal intervention is needed, we have made no requests for the type of federal intervention we have seen imposed in Los Angeles or Washington, D.C. The apparent plans to move forward regardless of our unanimous opposition is an offense to the sovereignty of our state and the sovereignty of states at large. It is a dangerous step.
Sir, the governor and that mayor don't want to talk to Trump. He already said it in the beginning that they don't want to deal with Trump for whatever reason. They don't like Trump. They're not going to do business with Trump. They're not going to do it.
Step towards authoritarianism that puts our communities at risk. The Posse Comitatus Act limits federal government's ability to use military for domestic law enforcement. None of the prerequisites for National Guard deployment exist here. There is no emergency in the state of Illinois that requires the use of National Guard. There's no foreign invasion. There's no rebellion. My office has filed close to 36 lawsuits fighting the unlawful overreach of the Trump administration. And we're not afraid to do it again. And this is an administration that frequently disregards our Constitution and federal law. But notwithstanding all of these lawsuits and all of these prior federal overreach, it's possible that deploying members of the U.S. military against Americans could be the most egregious violation yet. It is immoral and it is dangerous. And we will use every legal tool to fight any unlawful deployment of the military against our American citizens in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. At this point, I would like to introduce our great U.S. Senator, Senator Tammy Duckworth.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Oh, it is afternoon.
You made it.
I made it. Good afternoon, everyone. To echo our governor, thank you for being here. Though the circumstances that Trump is seeking to create are both deeply unfortunate and obviously unnecessary. Donald Trump never had the courage himself to raise his right hand and serve his country in uniform. But let me just say from personal experience, and that consists of 23 years in the military, 17 of which proudly as a member of the Illinois National Guard, that the men and women who are brave enough to wear this country's flag on their shoulder are doing so to defend our nation's rights and freedoms, not to protect a tin pot dictator's thin skin or to police their own neighbors. It's not what they signed up for, and it's certainly not what their training is focused on. I don't want to repeat too much of what Governor Pritzker had just laid out, so let me just say that it should come as no surprise that Donald Trump is once again attacking Chicago. He has for a long time, and he will probably keep on doing it for years to come. It is because he is afraid of us. But his attacks don't do anything to change the reality that he has a long pattern of politicizing and misusing our nation's military for his own partisan gain and to crush dissent, and that is beyond outrageous. I went to war. I was federalized as a member of the National Guard to defend America's freedoms. So you better believe that I'm going to speak out when he's doing his damnedest to keep other Americans from speaking out, from exercising their First Amendment rights. And let me say it again, one of the most patriotic things you can do in this nation isn't necessarily serving in uniform. It is standing up and exercising your First Amendment rights and speaking truth to power. We know that Trump's actions are not about law and order. Give me a break. We know this for 1,001 reasons, but I will give you one. Because Trump is flagrantly, even today, refusing to coordinate with state and local officials. Just this morning, I was in touch with the National Guard officials, and they confirmed to me that he has not reached out to them. And if he really cared about health and safety, he wouldn't have cut millions of dollars in gun violence prevention funding just weeks ago. Instead, this is just another sad, desperate attempt by a small man to distract the American people from the price spikes his own policies are still causing and the countless personal scandals he's trying to sweep under the rug and hope that we don't notice. We should not get distracted. But he also should not be forcing our guardsmen and women to have to be away from their loved ones, forcing them to take time off from their full-time jobs simply to stroke his own ego. And let me be clear, our military will feel the cost of this PR stunt as it takes resources and focus away from the real missions they need to train for. What they should be doing is preparing for assault missions. They should be preparing for convoy operations. They should.
I ain't gonna even lie. I rock with y'all, chat. Man, some of the comments in this chat room is hilarious. I rock with y'all, chat. I mean, I hope y'all having a great night. Thank y'all for joining me. I rock with y'all, chat. This is the best chat room on YouTube. Hands down.
should be training to help us in the event of a flood or a tornado and other natural disasters. They should be training to fight, to take the fight to the enemies abroad, not to bring the fight to neighbors here at home. He is also inflicting reputational damage on our nation's military, which is supposed to be nonpartisan. He is taking it and he is deploying our troops on the streets of our nation's communities and hurting the readiness of the greatest fighting force on the face of the earth. Frankly, all this would be embarrassing if it weren't so devastating for those involved and so terrifying for the future and the security of our nation. Forcing the military uninvited into Chicago to intimidate Americans in their own neighborhoods does not make our nation stronger. It simply distracts our service members from executing their core mission of keeping Americans safe from the real adversaries who wish to do us harm. It's yet another unwarranted, unwanted, and unjust move straight out of the authoritarian's playbook that will only undermine our military's readiness and ultimately weaken our national security. Donald Trump should be worried about and should be focused on standing up to Vladimir Putin. Instead, he rolls out the red carpet for him. Donald Trump should be supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia, and yet he does nothing of the sort. Donald Trump should be fighting the Houthis rebels, and yet he has not been able to do that, spending millions of dollars to ineffectively try to stop them from stopping shipping in the Red Sea. Maybe if Donald Trump hadn't dodged a draft so many times, and by the way, that's 5 times that he dodged a draft when his nation called and he decided, ouch, my bone spurs are hurting, he would have actually learned something about keeping our country strong. But that is obviously too much to expect from Cadet Bone Spurs. With that, I'll hand it over to Derek Douglas of the Civic Committee. Thank you. Well, actually, I'm supposed to hand it over to Senator Durbin, our great senior senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin.
Thank you, Tammy. It's an honor to be here today. Make no mistake, the threat of federal troops to Chicago is not a serious effort to reduce crime in the neighborhoods of this city or our state. If it were a serious effort, it would be a coordinated effort with the mayor, the governor, law enforcement officials at all levels. It is not. The notion that we are engaging the National Guard in law enforcement has been described by each of the previous speakers, and I won't get into detail. But the men and women of the National Guard, I am proud to say, have served our nation and our country honorably over and over again. Proof positive, Senator Tammy Duckworth. She deserves a round of applause. When it comes to law enforcement, that is not the job of the National Guard, and that's not what they're trained for. And this president is making a point of cherry-picking blue cities and blue states on his crime campaign. As the mayor and the governor and others have said repeatedly, if you're looking for the worst of the worst, Chicago is not the first stop at all. There are so many other communities, even red communities, if you allow me to describe them as such, where there is much more needed. The real reason for Trump's action is clear. He is in the process of accelerating mass deportation. If you don't believe it is alive and well, speak to your friends in Little Village and Pilsen, as I have. The people who run the restaurants and the shops, the churches, and they'll tell you what's happened with the fear that is in this community today. And this is something that Donald Trump wants to build on. The goal to deport 3,000 immigrants a day. They've stated it publicly. That's what they're setting out to do. And sadly, they're marching toward that goal.
3,000 immigrants a day? That's good.
It is one thing for Trump to give speeches as he has and to warn us of immigrants that are rapists and terrorists and murderers and criminally insane. But the reality is this. Of those
No, let me rephrase that. Not immigrants, illegals. 3,000 illegals a day? That's a high number.
Have been deported, fewer than 1 out of 10 have any criminal record whatsoever. Fewer than 1 out of 10. 90% of the people facing deportation have been doing their best to be good citizens, paying their taxes, raising their kids, going to the same churches we attend, and they expect us to stand up for them, and we should today. I think it's imperative that we do. There's a reason that our Constitution, laws, and history hold back presidents from invading cities and states. This is an act of political theater by Donald Trump, and sadly, we have to take it extremely seriously. My friends, don't walk away and say this is just another political issue. This is how democracies die, when people don't stand up and speak up for the basic constitutional rights and freedoms which are part of us in this country. It's time for us to stand up and make sure we state our position under the First Amendment by assembly and gathering, and I've been to many of them. I want to salute the leaders for always making a point of saying they should be peaceful and nonviolent. That's the starting point. The second part of it is the fact that in our mid-year election, which we're facing in a year and a few months, fewer than half the voters who are eligible actually turn up. That's a job for all of us to change. They can talk about reapportionment and redistricting. We need to register and make sure our numbers turn up in a way that makes a serious difference in the governorship of this country. I am proud to serve you in the Senate, but we have work to do in the remaining 16 months before this election. It is my honor to introduce Derek Douglas. He is president of the Civic Committee and president of the Commercial Club. Mr. Douglas.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Chicago has a long and storied history of tackling its challenges by working together across the public, private, and civic sectors to develop and implement solutions. As you've heard today, public safety is no different. Deploying federal troops or federalizing the National Guard without engaging state and local government, business, philanthropic, and community leaders, the ones who understand Chicago's needs and are on the ground working daily to make our city safer, is unprecedented and unwarranted. The Civic Committee formed a public safety task force in 2022, and when we formed that task force, we reached out to the organizations and the leaders who are working in the public safety space for so many years, and we committed to standing by them in the good times and the bad to try to make this city as safe as possible, and to identify ways for the business community to contribute to creating a safer Chicago for all, with an emphasis on gun violence reduction. Through those efforts, we work closely with the city, the county, and the state, CPD, Chicago's criminal justice system and leaders, philanthropy, and community-based violence intervention organizations in what we call a one-table approach. And as many of the previous speakers have mentioned, we are making incredible progress on reducing gun violence in our city, even though we have a ways to go. That said, we do believe there is a critical role for federal support that could benefit our city. And we would welcome those to help us be true partners from the federal government in this work. But to be helpful, it needs to be coordinated and integrated with our one-table approach efforts on the ground, not isolated and militarized from afar. For example, if the Trump administration wants to help, it can start by restoring funding for community violence intervention organizations working in our communities. You can work with our law enforcement professionals to stop the flow of illegal guns across state lines into Chicago. We can provide resources to take gun cases federal, and we can work with law enforcement entities to stop the deadly flow of fentanyl into our streets. So there are things that could be done, but none of those, to the best of our knowledge, have been put on the table. We have made progress through these coordinated, cross-sectoral efforts of the state, city, county, business, philanthropic, and civic leaders, and community-based violence intervention groups, and most importantly, law enforcement, local law enforcement. Thanks to these partnerships, Chicago has built one of the most robust community violence intervention sectors in the entire country, something we'd like to make a permanent feature of our public safety strategy to help us achieve our goal of making Chicago the safest big city in America. The federal government should look to engage with stakeholders to assess where help is truly needed instead of cutting funding to this critical work or taking unilateral action that is missing local context. I represent the business community here today, and we stand by the governor, the mayor, our county president, our Illinois federal delegation, Superintendent Snelling, Attorney General Webull, all of our other partners in this work, and the city that we love, to insist that any offer of federal support be closely coordinated and integrated with our one-table approach to reduce gun violence and its impact on our communities. What we need is aligned action. That's what we have going on in Chicago. What we don't need are disruptions to our economy and our businesses. Active duty military patrolling the streets of our city sends the wrong message and risks slowing our economy and disrupting the progress we've made together. It will impact businesses' bottom lines and ability to operate efficiently. It will impact tourism and employees getting to their jobs. It will impact morale. The kind of sweeping, uncoordinated, indiscriminate action being threatened sets a dangerous precedent, and we stand with our city and all Chicagoans to encourage the administration to productively engage with us to help us continue to make progress on this critical issue. Now with that, I would like to introduce Paco Amador, who is the pastor of New Life Church and the board president of New Life Centers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As a young college kid, I came to Chicago to study downtown. And I remember as a hungry college student, got in a car with a bunch of people and we drove right into Little Village, Mexican immigrant neighborhood in the city of Chicago. There is an arch at the entrance of the neighborhood. It is, I love this arch. It's a symbol of what Chicago stands for. It's a welcoming doors for migrants and Spanish-speaking people from all over the Midwest of the United States. I go to that arch every single week as a local minister to pray at those doors. I love the fact that it's an arch, but it has no doors. The doors are never closed. There's no doors. For a decade, I was a Chicago public school teacher, and right across the street from our church, for the last 2 decades, I have been a pastor in this multilingual, multicultural community. I love being a pastor there. Through New Life Centers, we have been able to see the strength and beauty of a city that collaborates. Not just faith initiatives, elected officials, business, community initiatives, all of us together. From last year to now, there has been an 80% decrease in shootings and homicides in our community. And that is a powerful thing that no one can claim that they have done it. We have all done it together. Just yesterday, I was part of our congregation and many other congregations in Little Village and North Lawndale closed down their services to be able to join in the historic Route 66 in Ogden Avenue. It never closes except yesterday. And it was a beautiful thing to see North Lawndale, South Lawndale coming together. Several years ago, our local alderman who's here, Mike Rodriguez, came over to my house. He knocked on the door and he said, "Hey, Pastor, come with me. Let's go and say hi to neighbors." I've never experienced that. I loved it. We walked in to one side of the street and we met. I didn't even know that many neighbors. I've been living there for 30 years. I didn't know so many of those neighbors. We had some great conversations. Then we went to the other side. We met other neighbors that I've never seen. We've lived across the street from each other. And we went to the other side. After 3 days of visiting and neighbors and having conversations, we ended up coming together with an idea for an abandoned lot right in the corner of those streets. Right now, if you go, there is a beautiful corner garden where there used to be chaos. The ingredients of neighborhood and city transformation, it's right there. Elected officials, faith community, business, neighbors, community organizations, all coming together to work together. I guess what I'm trying to say now is that Chicago, together with all these friends and community neighbors and collaborators, is that Chicago is a growing and thriving city, which under our watch will, with community, faith, local government, state collaboration, will continue to keep its doors open to all those who seek a thriving city. I love living in the city of Chicago, contrary to negative narratives. Every time I ask my kids, my wife and I have eight children. Every single one of them have been born in the city of Chicago. Every time I ask my kids, hey, do you want to ride to school? Most of my kids say, Dad, I'd rather go biking in the city. I ask them why. They say, because I love this city. Today, I just want to say,
trying to get in there.
We live in a thriving city. And
Look,
we will
nigga, with that
continue
curl in
to
the red
work
shirt.
together to see this city thriving even more.
The one I was talking about,
I want to welcome Reverend Sierra Bates,
he got on a gray shirt.
Executive Director of Live Free Illinois. Thank you. Again, God bless.
A gray shirt. Like this,
Good afternoon. I am Reverend Sierra Bates Chamberlain. I'm the Executive Director of Live Free Illinois, where we organize over 120 congregations across the state, working at the intersection of gun violence and decarceration. What we are witnessing today is devastating. The President of the United States has chosen to target Black and brown communities already traumatized by state-sanctioned violence and white supremacy. This is not just politics. This is state-sanctioned violence. This is an authoritarian stunt. This is a declaration of war on our people. Two things can be true at the same time. Yes, gun violence has disproportionately impacted Black and brown communities.
hold on, chat. They got a little technical difficulties. That's not us. That's them.
To build public safety from the ground up. But instead of listening to us, this administration listens to a handful of Judas voices willing to sell out their own community. That is white supremacy, propping up a few to portray the many. And let's tell the truth. There are cities in Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi with higher homicide rates than Chicago, yet they were not targeted. Why? Because this is not about saving lives. It's about punishing Illinois leadership, punishing Black and brown resistance, and punishing.
All right, that's it, guys. Let's see what else we can find, chat. Appreciate y'all for joining me. We got the latest chat on YouTube. Trying to see what else we can find. Let's see, chat. How y'all doing, chat? How y'all doing? Hope y'all having a great night. Let's see. Let's see.
Technology so much as about policy choices. So if AI increases the pace and the scale of war, policymakers have a choice to slow war down. That's a choice, but that's not what we've seen in Gaza to date.
And that choice has turned Palestinians, their homes, infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and holy sites into a seemingly endless bank of targets. Israel collects a huge amount of intelligence and intercepted.
Now we're looking at what's going on in Gaza. Chat.
Communications on Palestinians. Storing it and making sense of it requires massive processing power which its military gets from commercial AI products supplied by Silicon Valley. Since 2021, Amazon and Google have shared a $1.2 billion contract to manage cloud computing services for Israel's Ministry of Defense, which includes artificial intelligence and machine learning. The Defense Ministry also has a close relationship with Microsoft, using its cloud computing and AI tools to translate and interpret intelligence data gathered through mass surveillance.
In the past year, we've been given a snapshot of just how much automated warfare in large depends on collaborations between militaries and corporate technology conglomerates. We know, for example, that the Israeli military actually stores classified surveillance data that informs lethal operations in Gaza and the West Bank on Amazon cloud servers. And we also know that Google has given the Israeli military a host of other AI systems that have informed its intelligence operations since the war began. So the scope of these kinds of technology shares is quite astounding. It goes against many of the core tenets of these corporate conglomerates, but also indicates that in the near future, and we've already seen this under the Trump administration, many American technology firms are going full throttle with developing AI weapon systems and rolling back whatever commitments to human rights they had been espousing for the past decade.
Google actually acquired a cloud computing company that previously was founded by officials who worked for Israeli Unit 8200, which we know is the unit that has developed Gospel, Lavender, and other AI tools that Israel has been using in Gaza. There have also been reports that the US data mining company Palantir, which has deep ties within the US national security establishment, has actually been directly helping the IDF identify targets in Gaza. And I find these reports to be quite concerning, not only in terms of the potential legal ramifications of being in
선박업을 운영하고 있었습니다. 그런데 이제 미국은 선박이 굉장히 아주 폐쇄한 그런 상황입니다. 하지만 이제 우리가 한국에서 선박을 구매해야 되겠죠. 그렇지만 앞으로 한국과의 협력을 통해서 미국에서 선박이 다시 건조되기를 바라고 있습니다. 그럼으로써 또 미국의 조선업을 한국과 협력해서 부흥하는 그러한 기회를 갖게 되기 바랍니다. 아까도 말씀드렸습니다만 제2차 세계대전 때 미국은 하루에 1개의 선박을 건조했습니다. 그렇지만 지금 미국의 조선선은 상당히 다시 한번 축하드립니다. 감사합니다.
네, 대통령님 감사드립니다. 이렇게 시간을 내주셔서 우리 대한민국 국민을 대표해서 감사 말씀을 드리면서 우리 대통령께서 이 오벌 오피스를 새로 꾸미고 있다는데 정말로 밝고 황금색으로 빛나는 게 정말 보기 좋습니다. 품격이 아주 있어 보이고 미국의 새로운 번영을 상징하는 것 같습니다.
Mr. President, let me begin by thanking you on behalf of the Korean people. I would like to thank you for giving your time for today's meeting. And I heard that you recently redecorated the Oval Office, and I would like to say that it looks very bright and beautiful, and it has the dignity of America, and it symbolizes the new future and prosperity of America.
미국을 다시 위대하게 만드는 것이 우리 대통령님의 꿈인데 미국이 다시 위대하게 변하고 있는 것 같고 그게 다우존스 지수에서도 그게 나타나는 것 같습니다. 제가 보니까 사상 최고치를 경신하고 있던데 오늘은 잠깐 조정되고 있지만 아주 훌륭하게 미국이 다시 위대해지고 있는 것 같습니다.
I believe that making America great again is your goal, and I believe that that is what is currently taking place in America. And I think
you know, Trump just loved that. Other countries and other presidents coming in saying, making America great again, he loves it.
The most symbolic thing of that is the Dow Jones Index, which reached a record high recently, although it went down a bit, but it reached a record high. And so I think that America is becoming great again.
말씀하신 조선 분야뿐만이 아니라 제조업 분야에서 르네상스가 이루어지고 있고 그 과정에서 대한민국도 함께 하게 되기를 기대합니다.
So I believe that there is a renaissance taking place not only in the shipbuilding sector but also in the manufacturing industry, and I hope that Korea can be a part of that renaissance.
그리고 또 한 가지 제가 꼭 말씀드려야 될 것이 대통령님의 평화를 지키는 기간의 미국의 역할을 넘어서서 새롭게 평화를 만들어가는 피스메이커로서의 역할이 정말로 눈에 띄는 것 같습니다.
And one thing that I wanted to say to you is that America's role not as a keeper of peace, but a maker of peace, is being more is emerging more evidently.
유럽, 아시아, 아프리카, 중동 뭐 여러 곳에서의 전쟁들이 이제는 트럼프 대통령님의 역할로 휴전하고 평화가 찾아오고 있습니다.
Many wars in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, and in the Middle East are coming to peace because of the role that you are playing.
세계 지도자 중에 전 세계의 이런 평화 문제에 대통령님처럼 이렇게 관심 가지고 실제로 성과를 낸 경우는 처음으로 보이집니다.
So among the many world leaders, I believe that you are the only leader who has made such accomplishments.
그리고 가급적이면 전 세계에서 유일하게 분단 국가로 남아 있는 한반도에도 평화를 좀 만들어 주셔서 김정은과도 만나시고 북한에 트럼프 월드도 하나 지어서 거기서 저도 골프도 칠 수 있게 해주시고 그래서 전 세계가 인정하는 정말 세계사적인 평화의 메이커로서의 역할을 꼭 해주시기를 기대합니다.
And I would like to mention that the only remaining divided nation in the world is the Korean Peninsula, and I would like to ask for your role in establishing peace on the Korean Peninsula. So I look forward to your meeting with Chairman Kim Jong-un and construction of a Trump Tower in North Korea and playing golf at that place.
아마 기다리고 있을 것 같습니다. 네, 기다리고 있을 것 같습니다.
So I believe he will be waiting for you.
그리고 마지막으로 든든한 한미 동맹을 기반으로 대한민국이 성장 발전해 왔고 앞으로도 이 한미 동맹을 군사 분야뿐만이 아니라 경제 분야 또 다른 과학 기술 분야까지 다 확장해서 미래형으로 발전시켰으면 좋겠습니다.
Korea was able to attain economic growth and development through our ironclad alliance. And going forward, I hope to develop our alliance into a future-oriented alliance that encompasses areas not only limited to security, but also the economy and science and technology.
대한민국 국민들은 트럼프 대통령님에 대해서 정말로 큰 기대를 가지고 있다는 말씀을 드리면서 다시 한번 이런 시간 내주셔서 감사드립니다.
The Korean people have great expectations for you, Mr. President. Thank you once again for your time.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you. I will say that Kim Jong-un and I had a very good relationship, as you remember, and still do. And when I came in, I didn't know him. We had 2 summits, but we became very friendly. Respect. It was great respect. And it was not going to be that way had Hillary Clinton won the election. It would have been a disaster. But we think we can do something in that regard with respect to North and South, and I think you are much more prone to doing that than other leaders that I've been working with from South Korea. And we'll work on that. I think it's very good to work on that. If you remember, you were doing the Olympics, and there was a great time of hostility with North Korea, and you weren't selling tickets because no.
See, the thing is, we got to remember, guys, is that Kim Jong-un and North Korea, they want to take over South Korea. We got to remember that, guys.
Nobody wanted to be blown up in the stadium during the opening ceremonies, right? And you were not selling tickets. And I was also at my formative stage with North Korea and Kim Jong-un. And we were a little bit going at it about Rocket Man, Little Rocket Man, everything back and forth. And it was really nasty. And then I got a call one day. And they wanted to get together, they wanted to talk, and we started talking. And then he said really brilliantly, he said, you know, the Olympics is going to be opening very soon, and we'd like to be a part of it. They actually put teams in it. You got along great. And by the way, immediately upon that phone call, you started selling tickets, and it turned out to be a tremendous success. So it went from being empty stadiums because people were afraid to go, because it was a target potentially, to a great success, and I was very proud of that. You had one of the most successful Olympics, and now we have the Olympics coming to the U.S., so we're very happy about that. But that was a great honor to get involved and make the Olympics so successful.
네, 대단히 감사합니다. 다시 한번 모시게 돼서 영광이라고 말씀드리겠습니다. 제가 김정은 위원장과 굉장히 좋은 관계를 가지고 있습니다. 그리고 현재도 매우 좋은 관계가 있습니다. 내가 처음에 취임하고 난 다음에 2번의 정상회담을 김정은 위원장과 함께 했고 상당히 친해졌고 또 더 중요한 것은 둘 다 존경심을 서로에게 가지고 있다는 것입니다. 만일 조질레 클린턴이 대통령으로 당선했다면 절대 그러한 상황까지 이르지 않았을 것입니다. 제가 보기에는 이재명 대통령께서 한국의 어느 지도자보다도 북한에 좀 더 문제를 해결하고자 하는 의지가 있는 그러한 대통령이라고 생각합니다. 그래서 어쩌면 우리가 함께 노력한다면 어느 정도 진전이 있을 수도 있겠습니다. 사실 그 한국에서 올림픽에 열렸을 때 북한 때문에 많은 사람들이 올림픽 표를 사지 않는 그런 현상이 생겨났었습니다. 그런데 김정은 위원장이 그때 사실은 김정은 위원장과 초기에는 제가 별로 사이가 좋았던 것은 아닙니다. 서로 락켓맨이라고 부르면서 주고받는 그러한 해프닝도 있었습니다. 그런데 어느 날 통화를 시작하게 되었고 통화를 하면서 그가 얘기를 했습니다. 한국에서 올림픽이 곧 열리는데 우리 북한도 참가하겠다. 그렇게 얘기를 했습니다. 그리고 그 통화 직후에 올림픽표가 많이 팔리기 시작했습니다. 그리고 한국의 올림픽은 올림픽 역사상 가장 성공적인 올림픽으로 지금 기록되고 있습니다. 또 우리 미국도 곧 올림픽을 주최할 예정입니다. 그래서 우리도 미국에서 성공적인 그런 올림픽을 주최할 계획을 가지고 있습니다.
김정은 위원장 말씀을 하셔서 그런데 사실 대통령님 덕분에 이 북한하고 이 한반도 관계가 매우 안정적이었습니다. 그런데 사실 그 이후 대통령께서 미국 정치에서 잠깐 물러서 있는 그 사이에 사실은 북한의 미사일도 많이 개발됐고.
Hey, what's up, Melissa? How you doing? Thank you for joining me. You just entered the best chat room on YouTube.
핵폭탄도 많이 늘어났고. 진척된 것 없이 한반도 상황은 정말로 많이 나빠졌죠.
Mr. President, you mentioned about Chairman Kim, and thanks to your efforts when you were in office during your first term, the situation on the Korean Peninsula was stable. But during the hiatus where you were out of office, North Korea developed further its nuclear and missile capabilities, and that led to a deterioration on the situation.
Y'all hear what he's saying? That's exactly what Trump want to hear. That guy is saying from North Korea, the president from North Korea, that's exactly what Trump wants to hear right now. He's talking, the word that North Korean president is saying, ooh, that's sweet, sweet words to Trump's ego.
Of the Korean Peninsula.
And they wouldn't have done that. They would not have done that if I were president. That was not going to happen.
대통령이 당선되었다면 그런 일이 일어나지 않았을 것입니다.
전적으로 공감합니다.
I completely agree with you.
그래서 지금 얼마 전에 김여정이 미국과 저를 비난하는 발언을 할 때도 대통령과 김정은 위원장의 특별한 관계에 대해서는 의심하지 않는다 이런 표현을 했습니다. 기다리고 있다는 뜻으로 보여졌습니다.
So when Kim Yo-jong, the deputy director of the Workers' Party of Korea, issued a statement denouncing South Korea, she mentioned about the not bad relationship between you and Chairman Kim Jong-un, and I believe that this is a sign that North Korea is waiting.
한반도의 평화의 새 길을 꼭 열어주시기 바랍니다.
So I hope that you will usher in a new era of peace on the Korean Peninsula.
I will do that, and we'll have talks. He'd like to meet with me. He didn't want to meet with Biden because he had no respect for Biden, but we look forward to meeting with him, and we'll make relations better. You'll help that. You had a lot of leaders. I've gone through a lot of leaders in South Korea. You know, it's been quick. You'll be there for a long time. But we, in the various leaders that I've dealt with, they were not approaching it properly, in my opinion, having to do with North Korea. But I think your approach is a much better one.
네, 그렇게 하도록 하겠습니다. 김 위원장이 바이든 전 대통령을 만나고 싶죠 하지는 않았지만 말은 만나고 싶어 할 것 같습니다. 그래서 그런 그 시도를 하겠고요. 내가 한국의 지도자들을 여러 분을 만나봤는데 제 개인적인 생각으로는 대북 정책이 그렇게 적절하지 않지 않았나 하는 생각이 듭니다. 그래서 이 대통령께서 그 적절한 대북 정책을 통해서 좀 더 그 진전이 있었으면 하는 생각입니다.
저의 관여로 남북 관계가 잘 개선되기 쉽지 않은 상태인데 실제로 이 문제를 풀 수 있는 유일한 인물이 트럼프 대통령이십니다.
So resolving this issue through my engagement is not an easy thing. And the only person that can make progress on this issue is you, Mr. President.
대통령께서 피스메이커를 하시면 저는 페이스메이커로 열심히 지원하겠습니다.
So if you become the peacemaker, then I will assist you by being a pacemaker.
That's good. We can do big progress, I think, with North Korea. Absolutely.
네, 북한에 대해서 큰 진전을 함께 이루어 나갈 수 있다고 믿습니다.
감사합니다.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good job. Okay, questions, please.
Mr. President, when you met with Russian President Vladimir Putin, how soon did he say that he wanted to sit down with Ukrainian President Zelensky? Russia, as of now, says there's no meeting on the books and no agenda is set.
Well, that's going to be up to them. It takes two to tango. I always say it. And they should meet, I think, before I have a meeting and probably close the deal. But I think it's appropriate they meet. They do not exactly get along well, as you can understand. And I'm sure it's a meeting that perhaps he didn't like. But he wasn't happy about coming to the United States either. That was a big concession, and I appreciate the fact that he did. I've always had a very good relationship, despite a fake Russia haunt that we had. But we've always had a great relationship, very good relationship, strong relationship with Russia. That's a good thing, not a bad thing, by the way. That's a very good thing. And it's good to get along with Kim Jong-un, and it's good to get along with everybody, including President Lee. It's good to get along, and I get along with the foreign leaders. You see that?
See, the thing is about getting along with everybody. If everybody's getting along, guess what can happen? Money can be made. If everybody's arguing, bickering, complaining, fighting, arguing, being messy and gossiping, that halts the money. But if everybody's getting along, guess what's going to happen? That's when you can make money. You can focus on earning, spending less, and making proper investments. 2025 and beyond, guys. If you don't get nothing out of this, 2025 and beyond is the best time to build relationships, make a good earn, spend less, make proper investments. Everybody got to get along. And let's go and build wealth.
See that with the biggest group of foreign leaders that we've ever had. Don't forget the European Union was here also representing a large group of countries just recently. So I believe that we're going to get that war straightened out. We're going to get it.
Alvin, no money is going to be made, bro. It's big money being made right now. What are you talking about? It's big money being made right now. It's a wealth transfer that is in the beginning stages right as we speak. You got to pay attention, Alvin. It's a big wealth transfer that's happening, and it's happening right now. You got to pay attention, bro.
Get it done. I don't know that they'll meet. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. They'd like me to be at the meeting. I said, you guys ought to work it out. It's between you. It's not us. Now, in the meantime, we're not spending any money on, as you know, on Ukraine. We're selling military equipment to NATO. NATO now is taking in, excuse me, NATO now is taking in a large amount of money from the countries. They're taking in 5% of GDP versus 2%. They're paying the 5%. They never paid the 2%, most of them or a lot of them. NATO has a lot of money. We are.
To who? To the Trump family. Bro, if you are investing, right? Listen to me closely, Alvin. To who? The Trump family. See, that's why a lot of us are blinded because we're too much worried about somebody else's pockets. Right now is the best time to be spending less and investing. That's how it's done. Spending less and invest. The best time to invest is right now. It's a wealth of money being transferred right now. The stock market is at all-time highs. The stock market is at all-time highs. You're right. You must not be in the game, bro. You got to get in the game. Then you would understand what we're talking about. You must not be in the game, but guess what? Don't worry. You in the right place. You in the right place, bro. If you are investing, there's all kind of deals going on right now. You just got to pay attention. That's all. And make.
We are selling military equipment to NATO at full price, and NATO's distributing that equipment to wherever they are. I mean, perhaps to Ukraine. So NATO's working with Ukraine. Biden was giving hundreds of billions of dollars, just willy-nilly, just giving money. He had no idea where it was going. It was terrible what was happening. So we're not involved anymore in terms of the cost. We're in for $350 billion. As you know, I also got the rare earth deal done with Ukraine, which was worth much more than the $350 billion. But I'm not interested in the money so much, even though we've done a great job in that regard. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in stopping a war where last week 7,109 soldiers died, both Russian and Ukraine. It's such a waste of life and humanity. They're not from this country. They're not from any other country other than Ukraine, for the most part, other than Ukraine and Russia. But it's a very important thing to me to stop it. I stopped 7 wars that were raging, one for 31 years, the Congo, and as you know, Rwanda, one for 35 years. I don't have to go into them. You know the list better than I do. But we stopped a lot of wars, including, you think about it, India and Pakistan, which was probably 2 weeks away from being a nuclear war. They were shooting down airplanes all over the place. So I'm very proud of that. I thought this would be, in many ways, the easiest way. I have a very good relationship with Putin. I thought it would be the easiest one to stop, and it's really not. It's very complex. It's very personal from their standpoint. There's tremendous dislike personally between the two men, and we're going to have to straighten that out. But I would like to see them meet first. They'd like me to be there. I may be there. I may not. I'll see. But I wanted them to work out their differences first, because it is ultimately between them. And when that happens, I think we'll get an end.
Maybe they meet, maybe they don't. How long are you willing to let this play out? And if they don't meet, will there be consequences, and how soon for Russia?
Yeah, there could be very big consequences, but we'll see what happens. There might be very big consequences, because this is something that has to end. This war would have never taken place, and for 4 years it didn't take place. But if I were president, this war would have never taken place. There has not been a war like this since the Second World War. This is the biggest thing that's happened in terms of warfare, wars. It's a whole new form of fighting. It's a drone fighting. It's a drone war. No, a drone war never existed before. And we're actually studying it from the standpoint of Pete Hegseth and everybody. We're studying it and studying it very carefully. This is a whole new form of war, but it's a violent war, and there has been nothing like this since the Second World War. So we'll see what happens over the next week or two, and at that point I'll step in very strongly, and if I have to be there, I'll be there. And we'll either have a deal or we won't. But a lot of people are dying, and I want to get us...
Kim Jong-un wants to meet. When do you want to meet with him?
With who?
You said the North Korean leader wants to meet. How soon would you?
Yeah, we want to have a meeting. I like to have a meeting. I get along great with him. You know, you were there. We even had a press conference. He had his first press conference. Kim Jong-un had a press conference. This was a little different press conference. I said, have you done a press conference before? No. And you know what? He did great. It was a great press conference, actually. It was historic. I doubt he's done one since. But I said, would you like to meet the fake news? Because whatever you want to do. And they came in like, you've never seen anything like it. And then he said, enough. And that was the end of the press conference. That was the end. It ended very rapidly. But I think he had a good time. I look forward to meeting with Kim Jong-un in the appropriate future.
Would you reduce the number of forces in South Korea so that the United States could have more flexibility in the region?
Say it.
Would you consider reducing the number of U.S. forces in South Korea so that the United States can have more
Well,
flexibility?
I don't want to say that now because we've been friends and we're friends. And look, we have a lot of people over there. We have over 40,000 troops in South Korea. As you know, South Korea agreed to pay for that during my last term. And then when Biden came in, they complained to Biden that I went.
We got over 350 people in the building. Appreciate y'all for joining me. You have just entered the best chat room on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so you and hit the notification bell so you'll get all the notifications on when we go live. This is the best chat room on YouTube. There's a lot of smart people inside of this chat. You can get a lot of value out of this chat room. Trust me. So I appreciate y'all for joining me. I appreciate y'all for entering the chat. I appreciate y'all, and I love and I appreciate y'all. Y'all could be anywhere else, but y'all in the chat room, which is the best chat room on YouTube, hands down.
I wasn't a nice person, and he agreed not to pay. He gave up billions of dollars. We were getting paid billions of dollars, but then Biden ended that for whatever reason. It's unbelievable that he did. But we have a very good relationship militarily. They would say, but we gave you land. I said, no, you didn't. You lease us land. There's a big difference between giving and leasing. And maybe one of the things I'd like to do is ask them to give us ownership of the land where we have the big.
Thank you for subscribing. Ordinary person, appreciate you for subscribing to the channel.
Fort. You know, we spent a lot of money building a fort. And there was a contribution made by South Korea, but I would like to see if we could get rid of the lease and get ownership of the land where we have a massive military base. Okay?
Would you go? Thank you, Mr. President. How are you planning to make? I also want to ask this question to Mr. President.
Who are you with?
I'm Song Mi-jin. I'm from South Korea's Arirang TV.
Good.
Thank you so much. So, as mentioned earlier, United States is South Korea's most important and closest ally. So, in this point of view, I would like to ask you and also President Lee, what do you think are the key ways to make the South Korea-U.S. alliance greater?
Well, I think it's great now. I feel very warmly toward South Korea. I will tell you that I have a lot of people in business that I deal with that are from South Korea. They love Trump because they feel I've saved. I think you would have had a nuclear war if I weren't. I think you would have had a nuclear war, North Korea and South Korea. I think it would have been a disaster. You're only 60 miles away from Seoul. They don't even need nuclear. They have their cannons, you know, howitzers, and they have them buried in the mountain. You know what I'm talking about. And I think you would have had, if I didn't win that election, if Hillary Clinton, crooked Hillary, won that election, I think you would have had a nuclear war. It would have taken place, and it would have been horrendous for everybody, including them. It would have been very bad for them because we would have had to enter the picture, and we are the most powerful nuclear country in the world by far. Russia's second, China's third. China's going to catch eventually, 5 or 6 years. They're working to catch. One of the things we're trying to do with Russia and with China is denuclearization. And it's very important. One of the things I discussed with President Putin the other day, it wasn't just that, it was also other things. And I think the denuclearization.
He wants them to get rid of their nukes? Oh, that ain't going to work. This is like somebody coming to try to tell me to get rid of my weapons. Oh, that ain't gonna work.
Is a very, it's a big aim, but Russia's willing to do it, and I think China's going to be willing to do it too. We can't let nuclear weapons proliferate. We have to stop nuclear weapons. The power is too great. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask you further question about South Korea and U.S. alliance. I'm Anna from the Korea Times, and I'd like to ask you about the trade deal that's on the table. You mentioned about the shipbuilding industry, and President Lee mentioned about the manufacturing industry, and what other areas or sectors that you intend to focus on this trade deal, because Korea is bringing in many investments and create jobs as well. So I'd like to know the.
Chad, do y'all really think Russia and China is going to get rid of some of their nukes? I got to rewind that because that's exactly what he said. That he's trying to get Russia and China to get rid of some of their nukes. Chat, do y'all believe
from
that?
South Korea. They love Trump because they feel I've saved. I think you would have had a nuclear war if I weren't. I think you would have had a nuclear war, North Korea and South Korea. I think it would have been a disaster. You're only 60 miles away from Seoul. They don't even need nuclear. They have their cannons, howitzers, and they have them buried in the mountain. You know what I'm talking about. And I think you would have had, if I didn't win that election, if Hillary Clinton, crooked Hillary, won that election, I think you would have had a nuclear war. It would have taken place, and it would have been horrendous for everybody, including them. It would have been very bad for them because we would have had to enter the picture, and we are the most powerful nuclear country in the world by far. Russia's second, China's third.
All right, listen to this, guys. Listen to this. Listen to what he's saying.
China's going to catch eventually, 5 or 6 years. They're working to catch. One of the things we're trying to do with Russia and with China is denuclearization.
Denuclearization. That means he's trying to get China and Russia to get rid of their nukes, while America keeps all of theirs. That, I don't think that's going to happen.
And it's very important. One of the things I discussed with President Putin the other day, it wasn't just that, it was also...
Listen to what he says next.
Other things. And I think the denuclearization is it's a big aim, but Russia's willing to do it, and I think China's going to be willing to do it.
He said that Putin said that he's willing to get rid of some of his nukes. And he said that he thinks China's going to do the same thing. Meanwhile, he never did say that America's going to get rid of anything. So he thinks that China and Russia is going to get rid of their nukes while America keeps everything. That absolutely makes no sense. That's the most ridiculous thing I have heard in a while. Now, come on, Trump. I rock with you, bro, but that don't make no sense.
We can't let nuclear weapons proliferate. We have to stop nuclear weapons. The power is too great. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask you further question about South Korea and U.S. alliance. I'm Anna from the Korea Times, and I'd like to ask you about the trade deal that's on the table. You mentioned about the shipbuilding industry, and President Lee mentioned about the manufacturing industry, and what other areas or sectors that you intend to focus on this trade deal, because Korea is bringing in many investments and create jobs as well. So I'd like to know the opinions of both, how to get a beneficial outcomes for both countries through this deal.
Well, we're going to get along great because we really sort of need each other. We love what they do. We love their product. We love their ships. We love a lot of the things that they make. And they love what we have. We're dealing with them on Alaska having to do with the oil. You need oil and we have it. So we have a big advantage in that way. We have more oil and gas and coal and energy than any other country in the world by far. No, for whatever reason, God was very good to us. He gave us the greatest. We didn't use it. We started to use wind. Wind doesn't work. They started to use solar panels that took over the land all over the Midwest, where the farmers said, what happened to my land? They'd have a 10-mile by 10-mile solar field that they couldn't farm. The most valuable farming land in the world, probably the most vibrant in the world. And they put solar plants all over the place. It's ridiculous. Big, massive black fields of solar that all comes out of China. All plastic, all comes out of China. But we have the greatest amount of energy in the world, and we're dealing with South Korea, as you know, in Alaska, and we're going to be making a deal, a joint venture with South Korea. Japan is involved also, very strongly involved. So we have Japan and South Korea, and we're actually the closest. It seems like quite far away, Alaska, but actually it's right up the little ocean, right up the little Pacific Ocean. It's actually pretty close, relatively speaking. But we have more oil and gas and coal than any other nation in the world by far. and we're going to use it. And that's the thing that South Korea, I think, most wants from us, I would think.
Mr. President, would you go back to the DMZ to meet with the North Korean leader?
Say it?
Would you go back to the DMZ to meet with the North Korean leader?
I loved it. Remember when I walked across the line and everyone went crazy? Especially Secret Service, I would say they were going crazy. And I looked into those windows, you know, the windows, the glass, that you could only see if you looked direct, because there was all sorts of stuff. But I looked in and I saw more rifles pointing at me than you could. There were a lot of rifles in that building. The Secret Service was not happy. You know the buildings I'm talking about? The two blue buildings on each side. And I walked up the middle and I looked in the window and I saw more guns in that room than I've ever seen in my life. I looked at the other side and it was the same thing. And yet I felt safe. I felt safe because I have a great relationship with Kim Jong-un. I hope it stays that way. I think it will. I have a very good relationship. I understand him. I spent a lot of free time with him talking about things that we probably aren't supposed to talk about. And, you know, I get along with him really well. I think he has a country of great potential, tremendous potential.
Is it possible you meet him this year or maybe next year?
Well, I'm meeting a lot of people. I mean, it's hard to say that, but I'd like to meet him this year. President Xi would like me to come to China. It's a very important relationship. As you know, we're taking a lot of money in from China because of the tariffs and the different things. And it's a very important relationship. We're going to get along good with China. I hear so many stories about we're not going to allow their students, or we're going to allow their students to come in. We're going to allow, it's very important, 600,000 students. It's very important. But we're going to get along with China. But it's a different relationship that we have now with China. It's a much better relationship economically than it was before. With Biden, boy, what he allowed that, I mean, they just took him to the cleaners. You know the expression? They took him to the cleaners. I'm sure they have an equal expression in South Korea, but they took that guy out for a ride like nobody's ever been ridden before. Terrible. But we have a very strong relationship, Howard, I would say, economically with China now, getting much better. They have to give us magnets. If they don't give us magnets, then we have to charge them 200% tariff or something, you know. But we're not going to have a problem, I don't think, with that. I think that's perhaps behind us. You know, China intelligently went and they sort of took a monopoly of the world's magnets. And nobody needed magnets until they convinced everybody 20 years ago, let's all do magnets. There were many other ways that the world could have gone. But so it'll take us probably a year to have them. We're heavy into the world of magnets now, only from a national security standpoint. But we have a powerful thing. It's airplane parts. They have many Boeing jets. You know, they had 200 jets that didn't fly. And I've sent them all, based on his word, I sent them all of the parts so their planes can fly. I could have held them back. I didn't do that because of the relationship I have. And their planes are now flying. You know, we had 200 of their planes were unable to fly because we were not giving them Boeing parts purposely, because they weren't giving us magnets. Therefore, we weren't giving them. But we have a much more powerful thing, that's tariffs. If we wanted to put 100%, 200% tariffs on, we wouldn't do any business with China. And, you know, it would be okay, too, if we had to. But the magnet situation, we have tremendous power over them, and they have some power over us with magnets. We're going to have a lot of magnets in a pretty short period of time. In fact, we'll have so many we won't know what to do with them. But you know the story. It's a very interesting history with magnets. And it really is because presidents, not being business people, they allowed that to happen. And they shouldn't have. But we have much more. I mean, look, in terms of playing the cards, we have much bigger and better cards than they do. But with that being said, I think we have a great relationship. I spoke to President Xi fairly recently, and at some point, probably during this year or shortly thereafter, we'll go to China. And I think we're going to see a magnificent sight. It's a great country.
Mr. President, on the National Guard, you and President Lee actually are planning to go to China. You mentioned either this year or next year. Could you please share more details about your plans going to China? And also, President Lee, I think.
Well, maybe we'll go together. Do you want to go together? We can share a plane. We'll save energy. We'll save a little, you know, the ozone layer. Remember, President Obama used to talk about the ozone layer, and then he'd fly to Hawaii to play around the Gulf in a 747.
Mr. President, on to accept the invitation, Mr.
방중 초청을 받아들이세요.
중국에서 만약
Well, I was sort of meant jokingly, but if you want, you can come.
대통령하고 같이 가면 좋겠습니다. I would like to go together with President.
Do I accept? Does he accept? If you want to go, I'm going to get special permission. I'm sure you can go, but we're going to have a great relationship with China. I mean, it's happening. You see it. It's happening. They have some cards. We have incredible cards, but I don't want to play those cards. If I played those cards, that would destroy China. I'm not going to play those cards.
Mr. President, on the National Guard, you've talked a lot about Democratic-run cities and states. Would you also consider sending the National Guard into red states and red cities that are also seeing high crime?
Sure, but there aren't that many of them. If you look at the top 25 cities for crime, just about every one of those cities is run by Democrats. And you know, one of the bad things they did, cashless bail, if you look back on time, when they allowed a murderer out that afternoon, you know, he'd kill somebody and then a couple of hours later he's walking the streets again, oftentimes killing again rapidly. Cashless bail is a disaster. You saw we had a news conference today on that. We're wiping it out in D.C., immediately wiping it out. It started in New York, I must tell you, and it's been a horrible thing for crime, especially violent crime. So we're going to end cashless bail, yes. Thank you.
When will you deploy to Chicago, and how long are you keeping troops here in Washington,
A little
D.C.?
discussion. I really want to be appreciated. You know, when we go into a city and wipe out the crime, so D.C., it sounds so horrible. I'm embarrassed to say it in front of you because they don't have anything like this. Washington, D.C., sir, has not had a murder in 11 days. Now, he's saying that's a horrible thing to hear because they don't have murders for ever. But Washington, D.C., if you go back and check, it's been many years since we went a week without having a murder. Now we haven't had, and I would say that Washington, D.C. right now is much safer than Seoul. You know why? Because we have a friendly neighbor. We have more friendly neighbors. You have a different kind of problem. We all have different problems. But Washington, D.C. is a very safe city right now. People are going out to dinner. Restaurants are opening. Restaurants that were going to close are now going to stay open. Friends of mine are going out to dinner all the time. They didn't go out to dinner for 4 years. It went rampant during the Biden years. Just rampant. That's why Susie is very close to the mayor and has a lot of respect for her, but I view it maybe a little differently because the mayor would say that it's gotten better for 30 years. It's gotten better. No, it's gotten worse. And the worst day of all was when we just got to office for the second time. And it's in very bad shape. So the mayor shouldn't be saying that violent crime has been getting better. It's been getting much worse. And the day I took office, it was the worst. And we did some minor things, made it a little bit better, but then we said, look, we got to stop it because too many people are getting killed. And we have not had a murder in 11 days. It sounds crazy. I hate to say this in front of this gentleman who I respect because they don't have murders for years. But we have not had a murder in 11 days. And that's going to go on for a long time. And there will be, I guess, it'll happen a little bit, but we have a very safe city. This is one of the safer cities right now in the country. And in a short period of time, it'll be like the border. Nobody came in through our border for the last 90 days, 3 months. We had 0 illegal aliens from the Congo, from South America, from all over the world, from prisons coming in, pouring into our country. Nobody, not one person. And this is done by a liberal group, a liberal think tank. They do the work. Not one person has come into our country. Think of that. It's been amazing. And I didn't have to go back to Congress and ask. Biden could have done this by himself. I did. I said, close the borders. We had the great Tom Homan. We had Christie, as you know, Christie Noem, who did a fantastic job. She's doing a fantastic job. Pete Hegseth has been incredible with the, as I call it, the Department of War. You know, we call it the Department of Defense, but between us, I think we're going to change the name. You want to know the truth? I think we're going to have some information on that maybe soon, but I think because, you know, Department of Defense, we won the World War I, World War II. It was called the Department of War. And to me, that's really what it is. Its defense is a part of that. but I have a feeling we're going to be changing. I'm talking to the people. Everybody likes that. We had an unbelievable history of victory when it was Department of War. Then we changed it to Department of Defense. So that's a little thing, has nothing to do with your country, but it's something that I think you're going to be hearing about or seeing about over the next couple of weeks. Probably that change is going to be made over the next week or so.
Are there two Koreas, North and South, or is there one Korea waiting to be unified?
Well, I know it is two Koreas. I mean, there was one Korea. It was a very large country and a very powerful country. And it was a country that went to war with China. President Xi explained it. Went to war with China many times over the last 2,000 years. He had many, I think he told me 51 times. So I remember I went to President Xi. I said, we're having a problem with North Korea. Straighten it out, would you please? He said, well, we have been to war with them. And I think he said 51 times. But at that time, it was the whole of Korea. It wasn't, North and South. And after he explained it, I said, all right, not going to be that easy. I guess you're right. But, you had one Korea, and it was a very big, powerful nation. Now you have two big, powerful nations, but you have essentially a wall in between.
Elaborate the comments, the post and comments you made on South Korea early this morning, like raids on churches, going into U.S. military base, purge, revolution. How do you think about it? And 이재명 대통령께도 질문드리겠는데요. 저희가 이제 빛의 혁명이나 이게 내란 사태 극복하는 과정에서 이런 일들이 좀 벌어졌다라고 말씀하신 것 같아요. 그 부분 설명해 주시죠.
I heard from Intel that there was a raid on churches. We're going to talk about that later. I haven't spoken about it yet, but when we meet. And, that would be too bad if that's the case. But I did hear that from Intel, that there was a raid on churches, closing some churches. So we'll talk about that later. I could ask you now if you want.
Mr. President, what conversation...
Wait a minute, please. If you'd like. Because it didn't sound to me like South Korea.
간단하게 말씀을 드리면 지금 대한민국은 아시는 것처럼 친위 쿠데타로 인한 혼란이 이제 극복된 지 얼마 안 된 상태고 그 내란 상황에 대한 국회가 임명하는 국회가 주도하는 특검에 의해서 사실 조사가 진행 중입니다. 물론 저의 통제하에 있지는 않지만 하여튼 대한민국 검찰이 하는 일은 검사가 하는 일은 팩트 확인, 팩트 체크인데 미군을 직접 수사한 게 아니고 그 부대 안에 있는 한국군의 통제 시스템이 어떻게 작동했나를 확인한 것 같습니다. 나중에 좀 더 자세히 설명을 드리도록 하겠습니다.
So it hasn't been long since Korea has overcame the political turmoil following the self coup by the former president. Currently, there is a fact-finding investigation by a special prosecutor that was appointed by the National Assembly. And this special prosecutor...
Is his name Deranged Jack Smith by any chance? they took him from our country. They put Deranged Jack. He's a deranged, sick individual. But go ahead. Go ahead. I'm only kidding. Maybe I'm not.
And that special prosecutor is not under my control. And so the special prosecutor is conducting a fact-finding investigation. And I would like to explain about what you said about U.S. bases. They did not conduct a search and seizure of American bases, but they looked into the chain of command and the control system of the Korean military.
Right.
And I would be happy to
That's okay.
explain about this more in detail
I'm sure it's,
during our lunch meeting.
I am sure it's a misunderstanding, but there is a rumor going around about churches, raiding churches, so we'll talk. I'm sure that's going to be worked out fine. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, what conversations have you had with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about what is going on in Gaza? There was a UN-backed report that said there was a famine in Gaza. Based on what you know and what you've been briefed on, do you agree with that?
So, I deal with Bibi Netanyahu quite a bit, and we had great success, obviously, in Iran. We knocked out their nuclear threat. That would have been a horror show, having them have a nuclear weapon. They would have used it, too. We did very well there. Right now, they're talking about Gaza City. There's always talking about something. At some point, it's going to get settled. And I'm saying you better get it settled soon. You have to get it settled soon And that means, nobody can forget October 7th. People forget October 7th. That was one of the most brutal. I've seen some terrible things, some brutal things. That was about as bad as it gets. And nobody can forget that. With that being said, it's got to get over with. It's got to get over with because between the hunger and all of the other problems, worse than hunger, death, pure death, people being killed. And, I'm the one that brought back the hostages, and I did it with that gentleman right there, Steve Witkoff, and with Marco. All of us, the whole team, we worked together. Even the trade people worked on it with us. And we brought back a lot of the hostages. Now we're left with, would you say 20, Steve, or would you say it's less than 20?
I hope it's 20.
He hopes it's 20 because some could be dead. That's what he means, I assume. So we have 20, but there's rumors that some could be dead. It's a terrible situation over there. A terrible, terrible situation. But it's coming to a head. It's coming to an end. We are sending, we sent $60 million of food over there just recently. And I don't even know if people know it. We distributed ourselves. We're giving a lot of food, spending a lot of money on food, getting it over there. We have a lot of food. We have a lot of oil, and we have the greatest farmers in the world. So we have a lot of food, but we're sending a lot of it over to Gaza, and we're feeding a lot of people. But with all of that being said, it's a lot of people to feed. And I think that we will have, I think within the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have pretty good conclusive a conclusive ending. It's a hard thing to say because they've been fighting for thousands of years. If you want to know, that's been a hotbed forever. But I think we're doing a very good job. But it does have to end. But people can't forget October 7th either.
Do you plan to attend APEC summit to be held in Korea?
Summit in South Korea?
Yes, South
yeah, I'd
Korea
love to.
November.
I'd love to. Last time I spoke in front of your parliament, and I love doing that. Beautiful respect they had for our country, and a beautiful room. I remember how beautiful it was, and I enjoyed doing it. No, I could see going. I think I'm going for a trade meeting to South Korea pretty soon. You're hosting a trade meeting. So I can sneak away from that trade meeting and we'll go and do something for the president if he'd like me to do that, okay? But so we'll be going there fairly soon.
If you attend, then it's a good chance to meet up Kim Jong-un again, or maybe Xi Jinping. Then how do you think of it?
You mean set them up together?
Yes.
That'd be interesting. We'll arrange a meeting between you and Kim Jong-un. Would you like that? That's a very tough question right there. I don't know where that question is leading. Anyway, look, I get along great with Kim Jong-un, and if whatever I can do having to do with South Korea and getting people together, you should get together, right? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Smile.
Yeah. I want to ask.
Turned out to be the worst one in the room.
I want to ask about Masca project. Masca project.
Great again.
Shipbuilding. Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do that very strongly. We're going to have a big, within a period of, it takes a while. That's a hard one to start. Some companies you can start easily. Shipbuilding's a tough one to start, but we'll be doing that. Now, with that being said, we make the best submarines anywhere in the world. We make submarines. We're 25 years ahead of anybody else in submarines. So we do that. We do that. But we really gave up the shipbuilding industry foolishly. Many years ago, but we're gonna start it up again. We're gonna be making our own ships again soon. Okay, how about one or two more?
Have you been briefed on the search of John Bolton's home and office from Friday? Have you been briefed on that?
I have not been briefed. No, I read it just like you did. I was never a fan of his. I thought he was stupid. I thought he was, a guy that only wanted to go into war. He liked killing people. I thought he was essentially a bad guy, but I'm not involved in that. No, you'd have to ask Pam Bondi about that.
Are more raids coming, sir? Are more raids like that coming, sir? Are more raids like the one on John Bolton's house coming?
More raids? I don't know. You'd have to ask the Department of Justice. They raided my house, I can tell you that. They did a big raid on my house. They took away everything that wasn't pinned down, and they took away some of that too. No, they raided Mar-a-Lago. They started that. These were bad people that we had in our government before. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They went into my wife's area. They went into my son's area, my young son. And what they did was a disgrace. But how did it work out? I see. We're in the Oval Office. Oh, I guess it didn't work out too well for them, did it? They are bad people. They're sick. They're sick people. And they came in with their guns into Mar-a-Lago, like 98 people. I wasn't there. Fortunately, I wasn't there. But they are very evil, very sick people, that group. And if they would have won the election, this country wouldn't exist as we know it. This country would have been a failed country. And now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. We are the hottest country in the world by far. Okay, another question. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah. President Lee met with the Japanese Prime Minister before this summit.
That's good.
So is there something to discuss regarding the cooperation among the South Korea, US, and Japan?
I think so. Look, Japan is a great ally of us, and I had a little bit of a hard time getting you two together because you're still thinking about comfort women, right? Comfort women. That's all they wanted to talk about was comfort women. And I thought that was settled a few times over the decades. But there is an overlapping problem with that. Perhaps I'm wrong in saying it. Perhaps this isn't right, but the whole issue of the women, comfort women, very specifically, we talked, and that was a very big problem for Korea, not for Japan. Japan wanted to go. They want to get on. But Korea was very stuck on that. You understand? So I don't know. Perhaps you'd like to answer. It's a good question. It was hard getting Japan and Korea together because of what took place a long time ago. But Japan wants to do it, I can say. Korea is a little bit more tenuous, please.
지금 질문은 그 3자 협력에 대해서.
우리 한미일 협력은 매우 중요한 과제고 또 한미 관계의 발전을 위해서도 한일 관계가 어느 정도 수습이 돼야 됩니다.
Trilateral cooperation among Korea, the U.S., and Japan is very important, and better Korea-Japan relations is also important for the Korea-U.S. relationship as well.
그래서 대통령께서 한미일 협력을 매우 중시하고 계시기 때문에 제가 대통령을 뵙기 전에 미리 일본과 만나서 대통령께서 걱정하실 문제를 다 미리 정리했다 이렇게 생각해 주시면 좋겠습니다.
Because I know that President Trump, that you put emphasis on trilateral cooperation,
right.
I made a visit to Japan before coming to the U.S. to settle the difficult issues that we have.
Good. Well, Japan wants to get along very well with you, and I find them to be great people, great country, obviously. And they want very much to get along with South Korea. And you have something in common. You know, you want to solve the North Korea problem. But Japan very much wants to get along with you, and I'm sure they will. I find the people that I deal with to be wonderful people, as I do with you.
일본에 가서 이시바 총리를 만났을 때 그 전에 우리가 가지고 있던 여러 장애 요소들이 많이 제거됐다는 생각이 듭니다.
So when I visited Japan and met with Prime Minister Ishiba, I realized that many of the obstacles that existed between our two countries have now been removed.
True. During my term, we removed them during my term. There was an overlay a little bit, but we removed many of those obstacles during my term. And if you look at Prime Minister Abe, who was a great man, he was a great friend of mine, and he was assassinated. But he felt very warmly toward your country, I can tell you that. And the current Prime Minister, who I've gotten to know very well, feels the same way. So I think you're going to have a great relationship with Japan. Steve, go ahead.
Just to close the loop on Gaza, is there a diplomatic push underway to try to get all this to end?
Oh, there's a diplomatic push?
No, is there?
There has been, yeah, sure. Right now, Steve, I would say very serious diplomatic push. Marco or Steve? Marco, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, it's never stopped. We've always looked to find a solution there. Ultimately, as the president said, we want it to end. It has to end with no Hamas.
Thank you, sir. Steve, where are we?
I would say that we wouldn't be anywhere but for the president's truth last week, which was a statement to Hamas that they better get their act together and
Yeah, chat. I got the poll up. Would you call in if I drop the phone number to give your opinion? And guess what? A lot of people will call in. We got 232 votes. 42% say yes, they'll call in. 58% say no, that they won't call in. So that Trump session is over with. Now we're going to go over here to see what's going on with I think this is El
Flood the United
Chapo.
States with cocaine, heroin, and other
Big drug
illicit
buzz.
substances, and for fueling deadly violence in Mexico. You see the court sketches there.
Appreciate y'all for joining me. This is the best chat room on YouTube. We got 320 people in the building, 239 votes. 43% say they'll call in. 57% say they won't.
So through a Spanish interpreter, he said this, quote, "I recognize the great harm illegal drugs have done to the people of the United States, of Mexico, and elsewhere," saying...
So y'all go vote. Do me a favor, go vote. If we can get it up to 300 votes, that'd be amazing. But with the 43% saying yes, I think we're going to start dropping the phone number so people can call in. But you got to be respectful. Like the chatter is respectful. You got to be respectful and state what you want to say. So we got to get up to about 300 votes.
I take responsibility for my role in all of it, and I apologize to everyone who has suffered or been affected by my actions. Now, under his leadership and that of El Chapo, the Sinaloa cartel evolved from a regional player into the large...
Joseph, appreciate you for subscribing. I appreciate you for subscribing. You have just entered the best chat room on YouTube. And we really, really, really thank you for joining the chat.
Largest drug trafficking organization in the world.
El
Well,
Mayo.
Zambada said in court today, culpable, that's Spanish
El
for guilty.
Chapo, El
As he entered his
Mayo,
plea in a
golly.
Brooklyn courtroom 2,200 miles from Mexico's Sinaloa state. Prosecutors there at the DOJ, led by Attorney General Bondi, taking a victory lap today. Let's listen.
District of Florida, Jason Quinones, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas, Justin
Hold on,
Simmons,
chat. I'll be right
and
back.
Acting Assistant AG Matt Gagliotti, who I'm with almost every day as well. We're here to announce a landmark victory for the Department of Justice, our law enforcement partners, and the United States of America. As you've heard, drug kingpin Ishmael Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, has confessed to a lifetime of crime in service to the Sinaloa cartel, a foreign terrorist organization. Thanks to the relentless work of our prosecutors and our federal agents, El Mayo will spend the rest of his life behind bars. He will die in a U.S. federal prison where he belongs. His guilty plea brings us one step closer to achieving our goal of elimination of the drug cartels and the transnational criminal organizations throughout this world that are flooding our country with drugs, human traffickers, and homicides. Under President Trump's leadership, the Department of Justice is on the front lines of this fight. We're standing shoulder to shoulder with all of our law enforcement partners to dismantle these narco-terrorists, and that's exactly what they are. They are narco-terrorists. El Mayo was one of the most prolific and powerful drug traffickers in this world. His partner was El Chapo. They were co-founders of the Sinaloa cartel. They brutally murdered multiple people and flooded our country with drugs. Their reign of terror is over. He will never walk free again. Over the last 3 decades, El Mayo and his accomplices made billions of dollars, hundreds of millions each year they were making by bringing poisonous drugs into our country. No longer. The Sinaloa.
I gotta keep it real though, guys. They not playing with the criminals, bro. They are not playing. So if you're a criminal, if you breaking the law, if you know somebody that's breaking the law, you have to send them this video. You have to refer them to this YouTube channel because they're not playing with the criminals any longer. We're going to have to see if they really serious, but the way they talking, they not playing.
Sinaloa cartel initially built their businesses with cocaine, but then under El Mayo's leadership, they turned to heroin, they turned to fentanyl. They purchased fentanyl precursor chemicals from China. They made the drug in Mexico and flooded it into our communities, killing our kids. El Mayo also ensured that the Sinaloa cartel operated and protected its drug trafficking business by relying on extreme violence. They used military-grade weapons and directed hitmen to kill their adversaries. They committed gruesome assassinations, kidnappings, and horrible crimes to maintain discipline within their own organization. He ordered the murders of countless individuals and rivals. Many innocent people died as a result of this as well. El Mayo operated with impunity at the highest levels of the Mexican drug trafficking world by paying bribes to government officials, by bribing law enforcement officers. He controlled corrupt officials and officers who protected his workers and his drug shipments that traveled from Mexico into our country. El Mayo's crimes have been so prolific that in the past 2 decades, he's been indicted in no fewer than 16 federal courts across our country. 16. From Western District of Texas to Chicago to here in the Eastern District of New York. He escaped justice for decades, but under President Trump's leadership, he has finally been brought to justice. Today's conviction is the latest success in the United States fight against deadly cartels and transnational criminal organizations. We've made remarkable progress. Just to give you a few examples, under President Trump's direction, the United States State Department designated the Sinaloa cartel, together with 5 other cartels and MS-13 and TDA, as foreign terrorist organizations due to the serious threat that they pose to our national security. As a result, the DOJ has already charged leaders of the Sinaloa cartel with narco-terrorism and charged alleged members with support and supporters of TDA, MS-13, and CJNG, currently one of the most violent gangs, cartels in Mexico. They provided material support to a terrorist organization. We are calling these drug kingpins what they are: international narco-terrorists that invade our country, threaten the sovereignty of our borders, and destroy our communities. They are terrorists, and we will prosecute them like they are terrorists. Since President Trump took office, Mexican authorities have expelled more than 50 high-ranking cartel leaders and other dangerous criminals to our country to face prosecution. More than 50 These are historic numbers that ensure that these criminals will face justice and face justice on American soil. We now have leaders from CJNG, Sinaloa, and Los Zetas in custody. Our prosecutors in the Criminal Division and the Northern District of Illinois obtained a guilty plea from Ovidio Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo, and another leader of the Sinaloa cartel, the co-founder. Just a few weeks ago, on August 14th, we announced criminal charges against 5 cartel leaders and high-ranking members of these united cartels. We will not rest until Americans are safe from these narco-terrorists. Thanks to our law enforcement officers, both here and in Mexico, who often put their lives on the line every single day to protect us and to get these violent leaders off the streets. We are not done yet. At President Trump's direction, we will continue to fight until every single cartel boss is behind bars and on American soil and in American prisons for the rest of their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. As you've heard a short time ago,
All right, we got 316 votes. 42% will call in. So what we're going to start doing in the future, we're going to start dropping the phone number and letting people call in. It's 11 o'clock at night here where I'm at. It's a little bit too late to do it tonight, but in the future, I'm going to drop the phone number so we can call. You can call in, but make sure when you call in, you know, it's respectful. You know what I'm saying? We're going to start taking calls. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. The reason why I want to do that, because I know this is the best chat room on YouTube. I know that for a fact. We already voted on that, and it's already written in stone that this is the best chat room on YouTube. So I want to start doing is letting people call in. That's what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm going to end the poll right now. We got 330 votes. 42% of the people say yes. I want to call in and speak my opinion. So that's what we're going to start doing, guys. That's what we're going to start doing. So I hope y'all have a great night. I appreciate y'all for joining me. We're going to continue this tomorrow. We're going to continue tomorrow. This is the best chat room on YouTube. I appreciate y'all for joining me. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. It's 11 o'clock at night where I'm at. It's late. And I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. D201, I want to call in. Well, you need to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join the lives. We will start doing that. Not tonight, though, but we will start doing it. Just make sure you stay tapped in. Make sure you stay tuned in to the channel. This is the best chat room on YouTube. And that's a fact. It's already been established. So with that being said, I love and I appreciate y'all chat. I love and I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great night. To the next one, make sure you hit the notification bell. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. With that being said, I love and I appreciate y'all. To the next one, which will be tomorrow, I'm out. Y'all have a great night, chat.